of technology and how does it relate to storms and weather, this very natural burden that we are faced with. So there's a guide for show notes from last week. On October 29th, Technicolor Show was not on the air, but I did post show notes on our site of what I would have been talking about that day, and also where to find news about the storm online. Mashable actually had a really good resource on how to follow Hurricane Sandy online. Now, where I was, as was true of most of Harlem, is that you were able to keep electricity, have connectivity during the storm, which meant you had this very interesting way of interacting with news and information. One was there were webcams around the city, and you could watch. Breaking Live, in fact, launched a Sandycam feed. There were also Virginia Beach and Maryland. There were interactive maps. The Weather Channel had an interactive map which highlighted Hurricane Sandy's path. The speed and movement data were all presented in real time. The Wonderground map let you put in your own zip code to get data specific to your location, and it would give you relevant pictures of the storm. There was also the wind map, which came from a couple of Google computer scientists, which updated every hour from the National Weather Services database, showing wind movement with these like white and gray strands over map. There's also all of the Sandra coverage. The Weather Channel put up live coverage streaming on YouTube, and the New York Times City Center was posting videos from Mayor Bloomberg, tweeting about flooding and other updates from their central hub. Also some apps, the Hurricane Tracker for iOS, the IMAP Weather Radio for iOS and Android, and the Red Cross for iOS and Android. So the IMAP Weather Tracker tracks storm activities in your location and keeps tabs on other regions. So you can say, I want an alert of what happens here and over here. So that it gets issues, alerts, and connects to local weather television broadcasts. So that might be useful for some people in the predictions of what's going to be happening for Wednesday. There's also important emergency apps. I have a flashlight app on my smartphone, but one of the big issues was how to keep your devices alive through the storm. And there was a fair amount of advice that popped up online on how to get stuff through. But all in all, watching the coverage of the storm develop throughout the thing was just very kind of strange in a lot of ways. But AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon have all indicated that they are waiving certain kinds of late fees for customers who are affected by the hurricane in New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, and Pennsylvania. In addition to waiving late fees and other charges, all three carriers have said that customers without power may charge their devices at company-owned retail stores. Now, there are still places without power in New Jersey, Staten Island, parts of Queens, maybe Brooklyn. And if you want to charge your phone, you can go into these retail stores, you can charge up. The carriers are also accepting donations to the Red Cross and other charitable organizations. Sprint has not made public its policies regarding late fees and charging and charitable donation, but all four major carriers have indicated that they are willing to restore, they are working on restoring all service in these areas that were hit. So T-Mobile announced back on the November 1st that service to prepaid and contract customers was going to continue working even if they hadn't made a payment at that time, and that the offer would run until November 8th, which is a few days away. It was also allowing users to charge their phones at the T-Mobile stores if those stores were operational, which makes a fair amount of sense. The carrier urged people to call ahead and make sure the power was at the location, and the store locations were available on the T-Mobile website. But what's kind of interesting about this is this assumption that you don't have power, you don't have a place to charge, but you can find the store location on the website, which is one of those kind of strange notions of, how is this supposed to work? But the ways that people charged their phones or kept charge in their phones was also kind of an interesting bit of news online, and it was something that I shared from my own small network on Google Plus. Were articles I found on what food goes bad, how quickly, what to throw out when you come back to a freezer that has defrosted, and what can you keep. But these shared conversations that occurred online are kind of fascinating in how they affect one another, because when someone shares an article online, it's not simply saying something about themselves, but also about who they think is going to be reading what they're sharing. And also how people comment back and forth, saying, this was useful, this was interesting, in terms of what were the shared articles. Another way that a lot of people got their information was via Twitter. The National Weather Service, the Weather Channel, the National Hurricane Center, the Red Cross, NASA, FEMA, all of these organizations do tweet, and their coverage was very, very interesting. There's also one of the things that was happening live during the storm were the fake shared pictures that came out of Twitter. Now, I believe... Hello?
Hey.
Martin, I was just talking about the fake hurricane photos that popped up on social media during the storm. Did you see some of these?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people were trying to decide. I was following what I think it's Mashable that went through. No, it wasn't Mashable. It was another site. I can't remember the site name. But they went through and they kept posting which one was fake and which one was real.
Yeah.
As they were being circulated. So I was watching that site.
Yeah, some of them were the clouds gathering over Manhattan that were made to look like tornadoes, or the Frankenstorm bearing down on people, where the photos are actually from other things and made to look
right.
Very interesting stuff. Did you follow any of the did you end up following any of the news that wasn't real while it was going on?
No. I was going to probably retweet the stock exchange information, but then I was like, well, I don't know if anybody I can't really care if New York Stock Exchange is underwater. It's like, oh well. I'm glad I didn't, but I was going to, and I thought about it only because I think it wasn't really relevant to people that were following me, and I was tweeting more about specific places to go and what areas in New York weren't really being addressed, and just letting people know, hey, this is what's happening. But more from a neighborhood perspective, local people tweeting out and retweeting what local people tweet out, so they can have a bigger voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mayor's office and NYC Gov and Con Ed and stuff like that.
Yep. I also I nearly retweeted the Coney Island Hospital which
No, I
was
didn't hear about that. What happened?
well, the Coney Island. There was this notion that the Coney Island hospital was on fire, and the Twitter rumors about that spread really, really fast. But they weren't on fire, because there was so much happening with so many of the hospitals. Because NYU had to evacuate, and another hospital, because their generators didn't hold up as much as they should have. So there was a lot going on with hospitals, and one of the rumors that went around was that the Coney Island hospital was on fire and that it couldn't be reached. But because no one in the Coney Island area, that it was very hard for people in that area at that time to be able to tweet. It was hard to get the rumors to go out. Because various parts of the city had different coverage. So some of them were very quick to verify. Did you see the picture of water pouring into the World Trade Center construction?
Yes.
I was, while that was going on, when that picture came out, I was with friends and we were talking about, is it real or is it fake? And since we were able to track the picture back to the AP, we figure it's probably real, and it turned out it was real. But it was, kind of a shocking photo. But one of the discussions I got into was, this is the first natural disaster I feel like I was in while truly connected to social media. I did not feel like with Irene it played out the same way.
I was in Boston for Irene, so I mean it was playing out the same way for me, connecting to you guys, and also our office is located in Tribeca, which is actually 2 blocks from the Hudson River. And so whenever with Irene, the building I was in, actually the office located in rather, was flooded, and actually it's the same block as Jay-Z and Beyonce's downtown apartment, and so it's that area and that community board. They're all part of Notify NYC. I don't know if you know about Notify NYC, but the community board leader from Wall Street area, she started a thing called Notify NYC, and it kind of really takes care of downtown Wall Street area, Tribeca, a little bit of Soho, but mainly that area. And so when the Hudson River gets a certain height, it definitely floods over. It floods over the West Side Highway, and so Irene, I was definitely informed. Even though I was physically in Boston, I was tracking what was happening down in Tribeca via social media. And also, same thing with Hurricane Katrina. And after Hurricane Katrina, I can't remember the hurricane is next year, but that hurricane really touched down more in Houston and also touched down more in Ohio. We were able to create a alert system. Everybody thought it was going to hit New Orleans again. And we were able to connect with the FCC low-power radio stations on the Gulf Coast via social media, create a social media notify alert system that if you tweet it with the hashtag, you would immediately go into this website. And so all these hashtags you could see, but the thing that was really kind of cool is at that time, no one was really using hashtags the way we use it today. And everybody that was on the Gulf Coast that were part of our Twitter connection, they were tweeting, and the AP and also CNN would retweet or actually post a video that someone put up. So it was really interesting way back then. I mean, it's not way back, but like 6 years ago, how we use social media to keep track of hurricanes. I think I agree with you, though. This is the first natural disaster that I was physically in New York for, that physically affected me, that physically affected my family, that physically affected everybody I knew, and we knew ahead of time. So it was the whole, okay, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then when it came, it was like, man, this is not really bad, And then it was like, wait a minute, I'm in Brooklyn, you're in Harlem, you're in the Bronx. What about, 34th Street? What about, so we and you found everybody. So it was interesting because it was definitely, I would definitely say now I know a lot more about the low-lying areas of New York than I ever knew. So, and I definitely want to talk about some solutions. That there was a couple great articles that came out about the solutions for Lower Manhattan. I don't know how it would affect the coast of Jersey, because that coast is just horrible. I don't know if we can, what can be done to protect the shoreline. But the low-lying areas in New York, and also the subway systems, creating the inflatable corks that would have kept out some of the water. But anyway, I didn't only find out all the information because of social media, because of the hashtag Sandy or Sandy NYC, and just knowing that Far Rockaway, Coney Island, someplace else, Staten Island got the most coverage that they weren't being helped, but there were what's the other place? Can't think of. Oh, NYCHA in general, the New York City Housing Project in general. Those three things I really have been tracking and really been able to keep abreast of what exactly Far Rockaway needed, what exactly Coney Island needed, and I think because of social media, we were able to get people to look at areas quicker without social media. If we relied on regular media, I don't think we would have got the story. I don't think we could have pressurized the stories as much via regular media, because they were reporting on Coney Island. They would tell you this heartbreaking story of Coney Island, but then they would show like 16 stories of Staten Island or 12 stories in Jersey coast. And we're like, but Coney Island, like, people are walking around with knives and switchblades and big long sabers because people are looting. I mean, Marty Markowitz, the Brooklyn borough president, he tweeted out, "Can you guys please help us? They're looting in Coney Island." And like, I'm like, wait, huh? Like, where's NYPD? Like, where's is Coney Island this like left no man's zone? Like this old movie, I don't know if you're old enough to remember or heard of it, but Warriors. Like, it was Warriors in the New York in the 70s was like this wild Mad Max ride through the 5 boroughs, and that's what this movie was like. And it kind of started in Coney Island. They had to make their way back from Coney Island to the Bronx, and it was through all this crazy. That's what it's reminded me of somewhat, of like how far away and disconnected certain parts of New York are from the other parts of New York.
There's part of what was also interesting was the kind of because you have a warning with a hurricane. There was so much buildup in the social media spheres of people trying to give helpful advice. Was something I found really interesting, like how to keep your phone charged, like the advice that charge up your laptop all the way, turn it off, and then you can use it as an emergency backup for your phone. Right. Or the advice of having an old school battery operated radio. Yep. And radio is something that was so interesting, how people were using radio. I would say I almost completely forgot about radio until this hurricane, really. But also, like you said, everybody was definitely prepared for to me, I don't think anybody could say it caught them off guard. I think that the ferocity, the fierceness that the water and the quickness that it rose caught some people off guard. But it was definitely different from Irene.
Yeah. I mean, so I learned more about storms than I ever want to know. And so the storm we're getting on tomorrow night and Wednesday is what they consider a northeastern wind. And so the southern one is what we got that brought the rain the way it did. The northern one is not going to bring. It's going to bring some flooding, but it's not going to be. It doesn't have the ability to affect the water line, except for places, unfortunately, like Tribeca, where it's very low anyway. And also, it may not reach the World Trade Center rebuilding site, but it will probably flood the West Side Highway again, because it's just Manhattan is just so low down there. It's just really like...
Well, much of the island was built up. Like, one of the interesting things was when they were giving the stats on, the last time that Battery Park City was this flooded, was back at... And then the date that I read was actually before there was a Battery Park City, because it's not that old.
Right.
Which was something that one of the folks I follow on Twitter pointed out. I also had a couple of friends who did lose power, and were in different parts of the city or out in New Jersey. And one of my friends pointed out that the folks who were dependent on smartphones and tablets lost their battery power much earlier than folks with older cell phones. And it's just one of those realities where, my phone lasts for a day or two, but an old phone, like nice clamshell, solid phone, can last so much longer.
Oh my God, forget about it. It's like the best. It's definitely the best. And I have one, and so I totally agree with you 100%. But then at the same time, to me, I have it just for calls. I don't have it to keep track of anything. I'm not trying to take a video with it. I'm not trying to do anything with it but to keep it for calls.
It really makes me want to have an old phone and a mobile hotspot and a tablet. Just go ahead and have all three devices, because it's going to be an equivalent cost.
And I'm glad we're talking about this. I really think that we should probably, for maybe a week from now or 2 weeks from now, as it gets closer to Black Friday or Black Monday, we should have this conversation again. But and have real build up for this conversation. Mm-hmm. I was pulled into a conversation, which I'm glad, that someone felt I was knowledgeable enough to be brought on radio and talk about this, but. There's so much out there people are confused about right now. Mm-hmm. And because of the Surface, so there's Microsoft Surface, there is Microsoft Windows 8 and Windows 8 touchscreen laptops, or convertibles, as some people call them. There is the Kindle Fire tablet that has basically as a Google, I consider that still to be a Google Android tablet. But some people, argue no. There's Samsung and Samsung smartphones, but the Samsung also, we've always talked about the Galaxy and how much I love the Galaxy. There is the Galaxy products, and there's the Google Nexus 7 tablet. And, I forgot about the iPad. And so,
And not to mention the iPad mini.
Right, which is so, and I think that's the thing what you said. The conversation basically was, hey, Martin, so what do you think these people should get? And I was like, huh? Are you serious? There's so many different scenarios that work for you. So at the end of the conversation, the four people that were on the phone were like, well, I think that we'll probably all end up having 3 different devices. And I kind of have I don't know, I could see having 2. I don't know if I would have 3. What we're talking about now is for emergency services, for protection purposes, but I definitely would say, have an old school phone that you can put minutes on, and, it's $29 or $19 or whatever, and make sure it's like a Verizon. Because that was the other thing. I don't know what you experienced, your provider, but I have a Verizon contract, I have a T-Mobile contract, and neither one of them ever dropped a signal. Ever. And I was really happy about that. But some people that had Sprint and AT&T, they had a lot of problems.
You also weren't in, say, Soho, which seemed to lose cell reception for most things.
Well, yes, and the caveat about Soho / downtown, which is really weird and interesting, but stupid and weird, too, at the same time, is that T-Mobile works no problem downtown. But AT&T, I've been in 2 different buildings, and the actual company, AT&T, has sent out, because the complaints were so large, they're literally 4 blocks away. This is not Sandy. This is just regular weather, nice, sunny day. You can't get an AT&T signal. And this is before the huge iPhone thing. And then after the iPhone thing, it got even worse. So I've always had a problem with AT&T downtown. Verizon never had a problem too much for Verizon, but Sprint also. So it's kind of weird because these are buildings that were located literally 4 or 12 blocks away from the main AT&T signal, the main AT&T tower. And I don't know. Downtown has always been this weird, like, zone that you kind of fade in and fade out depending upon exactly what streets you are. After you cross 14th, though, everything is fine. But when you cross 14th, east or west side, coming downtown, the east side has a little bit better signals than the west side does. But it's always been that problem. So I would expect that to have happened during Sandy, period. I wouldn't expect to get a signal if I had those two companies, unfortunately.
Okay. So one of the things going on right now that's really affecting New Yorkers who have cars
Yes.
is the gas shortage.
Yeah, before we get into that, I definitely, that's so heartbreaking. Want to say we do have some callers that will be calling in throughout the night after 7:30 mark, which is 7:30 now, so you might get a call now. But there was an article that was posted yesterday that's an old topic that we haven't really covered too much on the show, but it's an old topic
one of our callers has joined us.
And Silicon Valley and what it takes to be successful in Silicon Valley as an African-American entrepreneur or a person of color. And this article was posted on TechCrunch, and basically the title was Greed, Not Race, Leads to Success. We have a caller. Is it Mike Street?
Yes, this is Mike Street here.
Hey, Mike. What's going on, bro?
Hey, how's everybody?
Good. Mike Street is one of the I call him the Harlem, the Prince of Harlem Digital. So Mike, also co-founder of the Blacks in Technology. Am I correct?
Well, I'm the current organizer. I wasn't the founder, but I run it now.
Yes, right, exactly. And he's also founded a great page on Facebook that I love called Harlem Space NYC. And if you go to Harlem NYC right now on Facebook, you'll see over 50,000 people that talk constantly about really 3 areas, and Mike has probably expanded, but I know that for certain. It was jobs, restaurant reviews, and in general, issues that were happening, topics that were happening in Harlem that had to deal strictly with Harlem. And I think I've been a member of that for like the last 3 years. And it's just grown and expanded. And I remember it was 10,000, and it was just like now it's to see it at 50,000 is phenomenal. Probably getting close to 60,000 right now while we're talking. But anyway, Mike, welcome to the show. You can follow Mike at Mr. Mike Street on Twitter, or like I said on Facebook, just type in Harlem Space NYC, and you'll come up to Mike's page, or to the Harlem NYC page. And this article, did you get a chance to peruse it and to read some of the comments? And
yeah, no, I read it pretty extensively, and I have to say I pretty much agree with where the author was.
Really?
From with the article. Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't come across condescending and saying, hey, you black people, if you just, were more greedy, you could succeed in tech. I mean, if you just made products that appeal to the person's need to give you money instantaneously, you would see no problem in tech. It didn't seem like he was simplifying the issue a bit much.
I think he came over it from a different perspective that a lot of people aren't talking about. I mean, I thought the crux of his position was, the one-sidedness of the CNN, Black in America,
right.
Piece. And, and I think most people would agree that it only really showed one side of it. But, they do those things for entertainment value.
Correct.
It was entertaining to see, people struggling to try to get their businesses off the ground. That's what, the mainstream media, wants to show. We're still in American Idol mode, and, they have a particular story that they were trying to tell. I think where he was coming from in this particular piece was that, there is another side to this space, and that there are successful, African American entrepreneurs who have, sold businesses, and and he speaks a lot to like a lot of those successful people. So I didn't think it came across too condescending. I mean, I did think some of his words were a little pointed, but I think like as a whole, like looking at the piece as a whole, I think he was I had to agree with like what he was saying. I was like, I think all this stuff in here is not, it's true. Like, we kind of need to get all of our stuff together, and this is kind of like the path that we need to go. Like, we need more boys and girls like entering into, the STEM programs and higher education, so that we can build those Facebooks and the Twitters, like, and all that stuff is sexy. But there's other businesses out there that African Americans have done that are not, as sexy, but they, are money-making businesses. So, I kind of, I didn't think it was too condescending. I think he was kind of just giving a voice to the other side of the story.
I looked at it and I was like, I don't know. I thought that he was a little bit. I kind of felt like I was listening to a guy who was Benson from the '80s, and he was telling us that, listen, if you just become a butler and just do something to get your foot in the door of tech, then you'll rise through your hard work and industriousness. You'll rise. And actually, one of my followers, one of my friends on Facebook, said that it sounded like the Republicans feel about how you can make it in America, i.e., Mitt Romney. But you can just borrow money from your parents. It was like he was just so simple. It was just I felt he did the same. He did the exact same thing that people are saying that, or we're saying that Black in America, Silicon Valley edition did, which was like very simplified. Here's the problem, here's the solution, go do it. And I like one of the things about the STEM research is that, I think it was one of the young women from Black Founders. She made the point that a lot of people that do get into STEM, they drop out in 2 years, and so he didn't bring up, and it's one of the. If you look at the article, you can, I believe, Lena, we have the article listed on our website.
Yep, I actually just hit publish, so it doesn't even totally make sense yet. But the link is there, and the link to the Mashables article is also there.
Okay,
so
cool.
This will get updated live. The reason I'm talking less at this point is not only that do I not know the material, but but also because I'm live blogging what y'all are talking about.
Thank you. So you can go to technicolorshow.com.
No, just technicolorshow.com.
Okay,
no radio.
Thank you. Technicolorshow.com, and see that article Mike and I are talking about. And in about 3 minutes, we're going to be joined by an old school, what I call OG in the tech game from the West Coast, Jim Newsom. And the thing that, Mike, though, that I was kind of perturbed about was just that he didn't talk about the how. Like, he talked a lot about just do it, right? But here was his chance to do an about face of what Michael Arrington did, which was, I don't see no racism. It's not racism here. If I don't see it, it don't exist. It's like, and it kind of felt like, I felt like he had the opportunity to actually kind of address that and say, look, Mike, it does exist, but I was able to do this. Sorry, go.
I want to address that, too, because, like, one, I think, like, people get their terminologies mixed up. And, and a lot of people, when they see something like that, they throw around the word racism. But that's not kind of, to me, that wasn't racism. It was more of just Michael Arrington's ignorance, and like his comment was ignorant. And he should, to me, like, he should have known better. He's been in the space for a long time. I followed him, pretty much since day one, since he was on. So for him to make a sweeping comment like that, like, he knew it was like going to come back and bite him later.
Right.
When a lot of people reached out to him and was like, hey, I'm a black founder. And, I even sent him emails. So it was like, hey, here's some black founders that you may not have heard of.
Right.
But to me, it was not a racist moment. It was just him being ignorant. Like, if he was somewhere writing up some legislation where, black people couldn't enter into certain programs, then you could call him a racist. But, like, what he was doing, like, he just made a stupid comment. And, but his ignorance, a lot of people blasted him for it.
His ignorance saves him from being a racist. He's too ignorant to be a racist.
I was like, because there's a difference, and there's like a technical difference of what racism is. So I think a lot of people just jump on that term because that's popular, and that's gonna and cause controversy. But but
what he said was controversial. He did say something that was controversial, though. I mean, I agree with you that people may have not termed it properly, but at the same time, it felt really entitled and stupid. And you also see why not just African Americans, not just Latinos, but also women. What was it? I would say, God, I don't know. Since they've been doing conferences, I would not have seen but one woman on a panel discussion. Just in the last 2 years, we've seen that change. We have seen that change. But it felt like
the Focus 100 and a lot of the other different programs that are helping, women and minority women to really enter in the tech space. I think there's a fundamental shift, and I think blacks, the Black in America program, I think it was beneficial because it gave a little bit more shine to it. And like one of the things that Paul Judge talks about in this article is, people see a music producer, it's flashy and it's sexy. People see, an NBA star, they're on TV and they're married to a Kardashian or something like that. So all those jobs that the kids like, that's sexy. And so, we have to, it's our jobs as people in this tech space, we have to make tech a lot more sexier than it is. Tech, it can be a lot of guys sitting in a room, looking at computer screens, and, that's not interesting. And so, CNN, what they did is, they made it interesting, and they gave it that reality show feel to this whole space, and that's why you see a lot more people are trying to start to talk about it. You see a lot more minority based tech incubators are popping up all over the place, trying to get more people in this space. So I think what it did was make it sexy, and now it's our job to continue that sexiness and get more people excited about programming and coding and
Black Girls Code and all this other great stuff that's happening, and even the work that you do with Blacks in Technology and BDPA, and I agree with you 100%. I think that's the issue, that we have work to do on top of that, and I didn't get that from the Judge article, but anyway. Hey, what do you got going on? What do you got going on for the end of the year? Anything crazy, cool?
For me, we're right now with Blacks in Tech, we're focusing on just finishing a year out strong. We're going to do probably a Christmas brunch with all of our members and kind of come into 2013, hopefully with Obama as our president again. And really, carry the momentum that we had for this year. We had a lot of good growth. I think we doubled in size, and we're pushing forward.
And how can people find Blacks in Technology? How can they want more information about it? How can they find that?
So if you go to meetup.com, so that's meetup.com, and just search for Blacks in Tech, and it will you will see the meetup group come up, and then you'll be able to join, and then also you'll get periodic updates from us, as well as any events that we're going to be participating in.
Gotcha. All right, Mike, thanks for calling in and sharing your time with us. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mr. Mike Street. Have a good night, bro.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, Lena.
Yeah.
One of the other interesting stories that came out of Hurricane Sandy has been the marathon. And I don't know where you stand on the marathon, but I know that I was one of the people who started typing postpone marathon NYC. Or postpone marathon NYC or postpone NYC marathon. And it really went viral, and I was like, I didn't, I just was like mouthing off because I thought it was stupid, but I didn't realize how angry people were until I started getting a lot of tweets from from runners who were mad that I was telling the mayor and the governor to cancel the marathon, and I got into quite a few Twitter arguments over it. But where did you stand at?
Well, I'm friends with one of the runners who actually went to Staten Island and volunteered instead.
Awesome.
Which I think is very cool. So our caller is our next caller is on the phone. I'm about to bring him on the air.
Okay.
All right. He's now on the air.
Hey, Jim.
Yes. How are you doing?
Good, bro. How's it going? Long time no hear.
I know. We're so distant, but yet we're so close.
Right. Are you in Nevada or are you in California?
Currently, I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay, gotcha. And let me just give you a proper introduction. Jim Newsom is the executive director of City Lights Software, but I met Jim online many years ago. I still haven't, unfortunately, met Jim in person yet, but I met Jim many, many years ago from being a member of his Yahoo group. And, I mean, he would give out so much information about tech, so much information about what's going on in the tech world. And then I think when MySpace really kind of took off a little bit, I wasn't huge at the time. You did the MySpace page, and I followed the MySpace page, and you put out bulletins. You were doing almost exactly what you were doing in the Yahoo group, but on MySpace. And that was great. But you have
It's funny that people even remember MySpace. I've still got 20,000 followers on MySpace.
Well, Justin Timberlake and a couple other people are really trying to remake MySpace into a music forum. So I don't know. I think those 20,000 followers are worth keeping. You never know what's going to happen on MySpace these days. But I was going to say, did you get a chance to look at the link that I sent you from TechCrunch, the article from Paul Judge?
Yes, I had a chance to review the article, and it's kind of the same old hype. My position is that, we are people doing great things with little or no resources. And the fact that, quote unquote, the publisher of a mainstream technical magazine cannot name one black entrepreneur, when anyone that's reading my posts are people that I'm involved with, such as yourself, can name 10 or 20 off the right side of our hand.
Right. I felt that this article, the fact that he talks about greed is good concept, it just sounded very simplistic and GOP-ish. It's like, if you guys could just pick yourselves up by the bootstrap and be like me, you'd be all right. And it was like, dude, like, really? That's all it takes is just to be like you, Paul, and we'll be great.
Well, the truth of the matter is that we are lifting ourselves up by our bootstraps. I can name people like Emmett McHenry, who was the founder of Network Solutions.
Exactly.
And the brother,
yes.
Yeah, he's still active, creating the next level of IP protocols, IP6. He's working on that. The brothers that would work with IBM, Dr. Mark, helped develop is given credit by IBM for developing the personal computer. AT&T credits a brother out of Connecticut for developing the cell phone. And these are living people. These are not the past gone. These are people that are still doing business and out there today. And we don't even want to start talking about presidents, vice presidents, and CEOs.
Got you. Well, it's like I really appreciate your perspective on tech and the years you've been doing this. Tell us some things that are happening out your way with Urban Tech Fair. Is that did I say it right?
Well, yes, and if you'd give me the opportunity, I'd like to talk about what's happening in the Big Apple with the Urban Tech Fair. We've gotten a lot of support from New York. We're talking right now with the Betty Shabazz Center about hosting a Wi-Fi zone down the middle of Harlem for the Urban Tech Fair. We've got a number of black entrepreneurs that are doing fantastic things that are going to work to help organize it. We're working with the BDPA out of New Jersey and New York. And we are looking to come to New York in this summer. They're looking at May right now to do a 30-day event that is going to change the face of technology, put more of us, highlight all the people that in New York, in your hometown, are doing great things. Our motto at Urban Tech Fair is discover Silicon Valley in your own backyard. If Silicon Valley is about innovation and entrepreneurship, where better to find it than in the hood? We've been making something out of nothing for years.
Yes, we have. That's so true. So true. Now, I think that one of the cool things about your site or your new venture, Urban Tech, is that it's not just about teaching people about who's out there, but it's also connecting them to jobs, connecting them to companies, trying to help them find investment. And so, how do people go and find more information about Urban Tech?
They can go to, Urban Tech Fair was born out of the social networking movement. As you say, I've been around online, and I was seeing all this fantastic information. You see it every day, what people are posting with different organizations and nonprofits and community groups and business groups, and there's so much good news, so much positive things happening that we never hear about in the mainstream media. And that was the genesis of the Urban Tech Fair. So through social media, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, wherever you are, we are, because this is a movement of the people. I'm a part of the California Broadband Opportunity Coalition. And, the goal that I posted today, that President Obama has had the foresight to push startup initiatives and try to make sure that everybody in this country, 98% of the people in this country, have access to the Internet by 2013. But the trick is, all they're really looking to do is get you to pay a subscription rate to Comcast or AT&T or Verizon. And, that's cool. But there's a reason that the brothers and sisters aren't online in the numbers that the white majority is. It's a value proposition, in my perspective. And if brothers can see that $30 a month can bring you $300 or $3,000 a month income through a business, or help educate your child, or get your child into a college, or that can help generate a new type of business and new services in your community, then more of us will be willing to get involved. So the Urban Tech Fair is showcasing the value proposition of what's already going on and why we as a people should get involved in technology instead of being left behind in this brand new phenomenon they're calling the Innovation Nation.
Well, I agree. We'll definitely support you 100%. Keep us informed about what the dates are, and even the, publicity in February. We can start promoting the fair. Once you get everything finalized, let us know the exact date, and we'll definitely start promoting on the show and having you come on at least once a month to talk about it.
I appreciate the support. We need the support because Urban Tech Fair is a movement of the people. As I said, we're not looking for corporate America, Verizon, Nokia, Boost, to come down, Apple, tell us the latest gadgets that we need to be spending our hard money on. We need to know a value proposition in terms of how we can take these vanity items, these cell phones, these tablets, these this mobile connected world we're in, and turn it into hard cash, jobs, and opportunity in our community. So that's why we're reaching out to the individuals that live and work and that are out there in the trenches right now. The Urban Tech Fair is a movement of the people. We're looking to promote what you're doing right now instead of telling you what you should do. There is no silver bullet or one-shoe-fits-all solution to our community. We are not a monolithic people, but we're great people, and we're doing wonderful things every day in technology. We are the originators of American pop culture. What we developed in the hood, in Harlem, in Atlanta, in the Ward, in Watts, is what the rest of the world takes as American pop culture.
Wow. That's what's up. Bro, thank you for calling in, and keep safe out there. I know you guys had a little earthquake last week. How's everything out there this week?
Well, out to our sisters on the East Coast, because California is known for its beautiful sunny weather, and I love New York in the wintertime, the snow and so forth, and to see the damage that was done by Hurricane Sandy and how people are coming together to try to struggle through it. You know, my heart goes out to you, and I've been advocating people to support and donate to the Red Cross, because we are all one nation, one community, one people.
Amen. All right, bro, thanks a lot, and we'll stay tuned and keep tracking what you're doing with Urban Tech Fair.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on the show, and as I said, anybody that wants to join our movement or learn more about us, just simply put Urban Tech Fair in any search engine or go to urbantechfair.org. Thank you again, brother. I appreciate and I support what you're doing.
All right, have a good night. Lena, we've got less than 5 minutes left.
We sure do.
Any closing arguments or things that we should...
I found moving through time very strange after the storm.
Yeah.
Because time travel is always strange for me. The whole, now time's going to change, we'll have a new time, and some clocks will be smart enough to run with it and some won't. Because in this instance, I was in Jersey, and my phone was like, there's been no time travel. Everybody else had time travel. Some people didn't, and it had to do with who had power, what cell towers had power, and whether or not my phone was auto-updating. So I found that a little off-putting, and I'm not yet into the new time-space continuum. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I think that I'm concerned about, obviously election tomorrow, concerned getting so many reports about you got to check your ballot. Not so much New Yorkers, but around the country. And just watching and tracking. I'm part of a group called the Coalition, Black Civic Participation Coalition, and all we do is sit on election day and just field calls. People who are at polling places that have problems, and actually I should get that number out because we're a nonprofit and we don't advocate one way or the other way who you're voting for.
So what's the number?
866 our vote. If you're having a problem anywhere in the country, just dial 1-866 our vote, and you'll get one of us on the phone, and we have lawyers on staff and people we can turn to help you guide through whatever problem you have and let you know yes or no. But for the most part, don't leave until you make sure that your vote has been counted. But anyway, I'm concerned about that, and I think that this week is going to be a very scary week because we have this severe cold. A lot of people are still homeless. And we still, are concerned about our neighbors. So I'm really concerned about the weather more so than anything, I think.
Yeah. The weather is scary. People are still waiting in line to get food and water and gas in a lot of places. There's also 60 New York City polling sites which have been moved. So that's 143 1,000 voters who are going to be displaced. They are going to have a different thing because it's still election day tomorrow.
Correct. And if you go to vote.nyc.ny.us, you can see where those polling places have been moved. Again, that's vote.nyc.ny.us.
And you can find the link to that on our site at technicolorshow.com. Yeah. Also mentioning the 1866 our vote to help folks out who think it's not up to snuff. And that's it. We will be back next week. We'll talk more about the different tablet options that are out there and how stuff is changing.
All right.
Thank you, Martin. Talk to you later.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
90.3 FM, New York. WHCR, 90.3 FM, New York.
If you know the symptoms and get the facts, you'll know the signs of a heart attack. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if it sounds familiar, call 911.
Pain in your neck, chest,
arms or jaw,
shortness of breath.
Please tell us more. Cold sweats and nausea, tiredness.
It's time to take it
serious. Back pain, stomach pain, shortness of breath. Cold sweats, nausea, dizzy necks. If you know the symptoms and heed the signs, you'll be